The best drama has some kind of jeopardy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes you feel something.
Welcome to the podcast. Today, we are talking about the growing popularity of social media drama mini-films for brand storytelling. Let's go. You know that feeling, right? You're scrolling through your feed, just this constant flood of content. And, well, most of it is forgettable ads or, posts that just don't make you stop or feel anything real or build any kind of connection. It's just a lot.
Oh, absolutely. It's the daily reality for pretty much everyone now. Our research backs this up completely. We are absolutely swimming in content saturation. That feeling of being genuinely moved online, it's incredibly rare because, frankly, our brains have just learned to filter most of it out.
Right. It's not just noise, it's actual content fatigue.
Yeah.
The sheer amount means brands are finding it harder and harder to cut through, to actually grab your attention for more than a second, let alone make a real impression.
Exactly. And that saturation means the old way is just blasting out more content. They're just not working like they used to. People are tired.
But okay, here's where it gets interesting. There's this kind of counterintuitive thing happening. The social media algorithms themselves, the ones feeding us all this stuff, they're starting to reward something else.
Yeah. They're rewarding emotional, high engagement stories. It's shifting away from just counting eyeballs.
So it's not just about views anymore.
No, what's really fascinating is that the algorithms seem to be prioritizing genuine reaction. Authentic storytelling, that's become the key. It builds trust, it drives deeper engagement, it moves beyond just like simple entertainment to creating real bonds. You see this even with influencers now. The expectation is they inspire some purpose, not just, a quick laugh.
So meaningful stories designed for more than just a pretty picture, they're the ones actually breaking through. And that's what we're diving into today. These really powerful, often kind of hidden tools called drama mini-films.
That's right. These short, very purpose-driven narratives are quietly changing the game for brand storytelling. You've almost certainly seen them without maybe knowing the term. They're built to pull you in emotionally, like an emotional Trojan horse almost.
It's a great way to put it. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to crack the code behind these narratives.
Mm-hmm.
We want to explore the art, the science, and the careful structure that makes them work so well. We're using solid academic research here to understand how they build genuine likability, especially in that mid-funnel stage.
Right, the getting to like you part, moving from awareness to desire. So we'll look at how they nail that emotional engagement. We'll break down this unique 7-element framework the research uncovered, and then walk through a pretty detailed fitness industry example to make it all really concrete for you.
Okay, great. So by the end, hopefully you'll have a much clearer picture of why some stories really stick with you and why, well, most just vanish online. Let's start with the proof, the impact. What do the numbers say?
Yeah, good question. Because this isn't just, a feeling we have. The data is actually quite compelling. The research showed that storytelling on its own accounts for about 7.1% of the explained variation in social media influence.
7.1%. Okay. That might not sound massive at first, but when you think of all the factors involved in social media influence, that's actually pretty significant for storytelling alone, isn't it?
It really is. It means that even with everything else going on, ads, influencers, trends, the story itself directly drives a measurable chunk of why something takes off. Put simply, brands can't really afford to ignore it. And we saw this reinforced when we looked at nearly 3,000 YouTube brand videos. These were all videos with over 100,000 views.
Okay, so a decent sample size. What did you find there?
We found that 53%, over half of the comments, and an even higher number, 61% of the likes, on these big brand videos were directly linked back to these drama-based mini-films.
Wow, over half the comments and well over half the likes.
That's correct.
That's a really strong signal. It tells you these aren't just some flash-in-the-pan trend. There are serious strategic tools for engagement.
Absolutely, and they're particularly good for building that likability we mentioned right in the desire stage of the customer journey. It's about moving you, the potential customer, from just knowing a brand exists to actually liking them, feeling a connection through, heartfelt emotions.
And that connects directly to what marketers call inbound relationship marketing. Right. Pulling people in with valuable stuff instead of just interrupting them with ads, building relationships.
Precisely. It's about attraction, not just promotion. Now, getting this kind of impact, it doesn't just happen randomly. You can't just tell any old story and expect those numbers. The research actually maps out a surprisingly specific, almost scientific framework for crafting these things.
Okay, so it's not just luck or pure artistry, there's a method. How do brands hit these emotional notes consistently? What's the first step, the foundation, according to the research?
It's a 7-element framework, and element 1 is all about identifying the struggles facing personas. The core idea here is to show a kind of common thread of obstacles that fits into a hero's journey transformation.
So finding that point of connection where the audience sees their own challenges reflected in the characters, that identifiable alignment.
Exactly that. Let's use our fitness center example to make it real. Think about a big gym chain. Their customers aren't all the same, are they? People join for totally different reasons. The research kind of grouped them. People wanting peak performance, others focused on how they look, some on weight management, others just for the social side.
Okay, diverse motivations.
Very diverse. But what's key is that even within those different goals, you find these universal struggles starting to emerge.
So instead of trying to target every tiny niche, you look for the bigger, shared human challenges that cut across those groups. What kind of struggles came up?
Things like vitality drain, that feeling of just being constantly worn out, no energy left, maybe heading towards burnout, or juggling overload, trying to manage way too many urgent things at once, feeling pulled in all directions, and then changing demands, like new job stress, family responsibilities piling up, making it feel impossible to find time for yourself.
Yeah, I think almost everyone can relate to at least one of those. So the big picture challenge might be something like feeling totally drained while life just keeps piling more on. That resonates. And those struggles, they set up a natural hero's journey, don't they?
Absolutely. You can see the potential story arcs right away. Someone moving from feeling isolated to finding a community, or shifting from overwhelm to finding focus and priority, or maybe moving from self-doubt towards self-acceptance. These are the kinds of transformations we're wired to connect with.
They're the underdog stories,
Yeah.
the journeys we instinctively want to follow. Okay, so we've pinpointed the struggle. How do we give that story its heart, its deeper meaning? That sounds like element 2. Thematic tie-in to persona's values.
Exactly. This is where the really deep emotional connection comes in. The research uses the term eudaimonic narrative themes, which sounds a bit academic, I know.
Just a bit.
Yeah. But basically, it just means tapping into those fundamental human values that give life meaning. Things like connection, personal growth, finding purpose.
So by linking the story to those really core values, brands are doing more than just selling something. They're touching on things that genuinely matter to people on a deeper level.
Precisely. It sort of bypasses the superficial noise and connects directly to our core humanity, building a much stronger, more authentic bond. These themes generally fall into 2 camps. Relational values like altruism, family ties, community spirit, or self-actualizing values. Things like overcoming challenges, personal development. For our fitness center, the theme they focused on was building compassionate connections.
That makes a lot of sense, especially given those struggles we talked about often have a social or emotional side to them, feeling isolated, overwhelmed.
Right. So within that theme, you could use specific motifs like showing welcoming acceptance, or how small acts of kindness ripple outwards, or celebrating personal differences. These ideas create a feeling of support, help people feel seen, feel like they belong, and can actually tackle their struggles within that community.
That feels really powerful. Okay, so we have the struggle, we've connected it to deep values. How does the story deliver its final message, its takeaway? That leads us to element 3. Outcome life lesson.
Yeah, this is basically the moral of the story. The film wraps up by offering a clear takeaway, a gist, that subtly, that's the key word, subtly implies a specific brand value. The trick is not to be too heavy-handed.
Right, nobody wants to feel like they're being lectured by an ad.
Exactly. If it's too overt, it just feels manipulative and falls flat. It needs to feel like a realization the viewer comes to.
We've definitely seen brands do this well, like Adidas implying empowerment with never stop living out your dreams, or Extra Gum suggesting generosity with sometimes the smallest gestures could be the most refreshing. What was the story and lesson for our fitness center lesson there?
The lesson is something like, never underestimate others' willingness to help you balance work and family stress. And the implied brand value, its support, community, understanding. The fitness center brand, through this story, shows it gets these pressures rather than just claiming it does.
And showing, not telling, leads perfectly into the 4th element, doesn't it? The reason to participate in commentary.
It really does. Because a truly effective drama mini-film isn't just passive viewing. It aims to get you involved, get you thinking, talking, sharing. It basically prompts interaction. It encourages comments, sharing personal stories, maybe even slightly shifting how you see things.
So it sparks conversation, both inside the viewer's head and out there on the platform itself.
That's the goal. With our fitness center story about the working mom, You could easily imagine it striking a deep chord, maybe like those Dove Real Beauty sketches did years back. You'd expect comments where people share their own juggling acts, their coping mechanisms, maybe just venting about feeling that same pressure. It creates this feeling of shared experience.
Right, stops feeling like an ad and starts feeling like a relatable conversation.
Exactly, and that shared experience is huge for engagement. Now, speaking of engagement, the research really highlighted two elements that often work hand in hand to grab and keep attention: the tagline and the story's emotional journey. Let's tackle element 5. Inspirational messaging in tagline. Taglines are so critical because they crystallize the film's core message into something short and memorable. They can offer what the research calls imparted wisdom, like, the greatest blessing has always been by your side. Or be more action-oriented, like Nike's Just Do It.
Simple, powerful.
Yeah. For our fitness center story, the tagline they developed was, "When resolve shines, kindred spirits light the way."
When resolve shines, kindred spirits light the way. Okay, that sounds quite poetic. Why does that specific tagline work so well here?
Well, it connects on a few levels. First, it's relevant to the likely persona, maybe someone starting a fitness journey, needing that initial resolve, like a New Year's resolution type. Second, it ties directly back to the moral of the story, that idea that your efforts are seen and that kindred spirits, the community, will offer support.
Connecting resolve and support.
Exactly. Third, it reinforces the implied brand values of supportive empowerment. And finally, it still feels appropriate for the business itself. Fitness often involves discipline or resolve. It just sort of ties everything together neatly.
Nicely done. Okay, that brings us to element 6, the emotional story arc. You mentioned this is absolutely critical for hooking the viewer and keeping them invested.
Oh, completely critical. The very beginning, the initial incidents, they have to create suspense or tension, some kind of conflict to grab you emotionally, make you connect with those personal struggles we talked about. Then you need ongoing obstacles to build the rising action.
Keeping the stakes high.
Right, raising the emotional stakes, building empathy, making you, the viewer, want to see how it all turns out. And the research was pretty blunt on this point. Unless it's intense, it will not go viral. It needs real emotional punch.
No holding back on the emotion.
Yeah.
So, going back to our working mom story,
Yeah.
how did that narrative arc deliver that intensity? Map it out for us.
Okay. So the incident. Mom rushing, stops at the traffic light, that gut-wrenching moment she realizes her child isn't in the car seat. Instant panic. That hooks you hard.
Definitely.
Then the rising action, the frantic call to her husband, finding out it was his turn, that wave of relief, but probably mixed with tears and lingering stress. Then arriving late and stressed to the big board meeting, only to be intercepted by HR. The tension just keeps ratcheting up. You're thinking, oh no, what now?
Right, you're invested. And the climax.
The big surprise reveal of the company daycare, that's the peak emotional moment. Huge relief, tears maybe. The resolution of that immediate intense stress she was under.
A powerful release.
Yeah. And then the falling action. She's led back into the meeting, maybe a bit dazed. The CEO is talking about company success, and you implicitly understand that this support system, this daycare, is part of why they're successful. It creates this full, very relatable, and ultimately quite uplifting emotional journey.
It really does grab you and take you through the whole range.
Yeah.
Okay, that leads us to the final piece, element 7. The glue, as you called it, holding it all together. Message, story, and moral consistency across all elements.
Yes, the glue. This is all about alignment, making sure every single piece, the tagline, what the business actually offers, the specific persona being targeted, the storyline itself, the moral or life lesson, the main character, everything has to fit together perfectly, seamlessly.
If it doesn't,
That's probably the most common way these things fail. If even one element feels slightly off or contradicts another, the whole thing can just fall flat. It feels inauthentic or confusing, like it doesn't quite ring true.
why is that perfect alignment so crucial?
Because that's what delivers the maximum impact and really cements that perceived brand value in the viewer's mind. When everything clicks, it feels honest and powerful. Think about those really successful examples we know. Edeka's Time to Come Home Christmas ad a few years back.
Oh yeah, the grandfather faking his death.
Yeah.
Intense.
Intense, exactly. But the tagline, the story about family reconciliation, targeting middle-aged professionals likely dealing with aging parents, it all aligned perfectly to communicate empathy for family connections. Or think about Dove's You Are More Beautiful Than You Think campaign.
A classic example. The tagline, the forensic artist sketch, targeting women struggling with self-image.
Perfect alignment. Each part reinforced the others, building trust and expressing genuine empathy. So looking back at our fitness center example, how does it achieve that final alignment? Well, you see how the slogan, "When resolve shines, kindred spirits light the way," fits the business discipline, community, support. It aligns directly with the storyline's moral just supportive empowerment. And the protagonist, the working mom, juggling work, family, guilt, she perfectly embodies those target personas seeking me time, understanding, maybe a bit of help. It all just clicks. It feels cohesive. It's that meticulous alignment of all 7 elements that really unlocks the kind of engagement and influence we saw in those YouTube stats earlier.
That paints a really clear picture. So we've definitely unpacked the art and the science behind these drama mini-films.
Yeah, I think so. It's clear they aren't just, random nice little videos. Not at all. They are carefully thought out, highly emotional tools that brands can strategically use to forge genuine connections and build real likability.
By focusing on those shared human struggles we all face, tapping into values we all hold dear, and crafting these really impactful, sometimes quite intense story arcs. They connect on a much deeper level than your average ad. They give us stories we can actually see ourselves in.
It really taps into something fundamental, doesn't it? That enduring human need we have for narrative, for connection.
Absolutely. So maybe here's a final thought for you, our listener, to take away. As you go about your day, maybe scrolling through your own feeds later on, just notice what stories are truly moving you. Which are the ones that actually make you stop and pause? And what might that tell you about the kind of connections we as humans are really craving in this world that's just, well, completely saturated with content? And perhaps thinking about these structures, how could understanding them help you communicate your own important messages more powerfully? Whether that's, in your personal life or your professional one.
That's a great question to ponder. Indeed, it offers a powerful lens, doesn't it, for looking at the flood of stories that surround us every single day.